Well, guys, it's 11 o'clock. We're still waiting on a lot of folks to come in, but we're going to go ahead and get started on the program today.
Start through our regular announcements, yeah.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Hotel Reputation Cultivation, the ultimate vehicle to drive profitability, loyalty, and innovation. I'm Mitch Woolley, President of HSMEI Los Angeles, also Director of Operations at eMarketing Associates, and I'm so glad you guys are here today. We have a great program. Our HSMEI Los Angeles Board of Directors, I'd like to recognize them. We have Samantha Rodriguez, our immediate past president, Libby Zarahi, who is our VP of Programs and Education, Jennifer Pachedli, who's our VP of Membership, David Barnett, our illustrious VP of Finance, Craig Carbonaire, who is our VP of Social Media, Levon Miner, who is VP of Sponsorships, Jody Flowers, who's VP of Student Affairs and COVID Recovery, and Sandra Martinez, our Managing Director. Today's moderator and MC is going to be Libby Zarahi, hospitality consultant, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Libby.
Thank you, Mitch. Can you advance the slides? I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping announcements for everyone. Make sure that your microphones are muted in order that we're not talking over each one. That also eliminates background noise. Should we have any kids, dogs, or construction going on in the background? And then most important, so we can stay organized as an audience, we'd like to encourage people to put their questions in the chat box. And we will scrub the chat box at the end of the presentation and make sure your questions are answered.
All right, so you're checking in on Sunday and checking out on Wednesday.
Yes, and again, please mute yourself. We're hearing someone talk in the background on the phone. Okay. Also, Mitch, can you advance again, please? I want to remind everybody about the resources that are available to all of us through HSMEI. It's amazing. Right now, there is a very, very special promotion going on for all of us that now through August 31st, any one of us who renews our membership using the promo code SUMMER, we get 2 additional months of membership. That's amazing. And I certainly plan to action that option for my own membership. Also on hsmei.org, we know that we can source many information resources for the coronavirus recovery of what's expected in our various areas. So please take advantage of that. And HSMEI being a center for education, of course, has so many course offerings right now, certifications. Those are all listed on the global website. I'm currently working on my digital marketing certification, but I would just highly recommend people to look at where they're at in their careers. What do you need to enhance your development? What do you need to make yourself more competitive out in the job market, which is still a little rocky right now? And certifications and your investment in yourself can help stabilize all that and accelerate you as a prime candidate for opportunities that may be afforded to you. So please take time to visit the national website. We have 2 in-person events so far, maybe more to be added. One is the marketing conference that will be held in Dallas, Texas at September 28th. And then the ever popular ROC conference, which is the Revenue Optimization Conference, also in Dallas, Texas. That's the following day, September 29th. So again, to register or get more information on that, please visit the global website. At this time, I have the pleasure, I'd like to talk a little bit about Adele. We are so lucky to have someone so renowned available to us today. Adele's mission is to help business leaders, that's us, realize that there's a very clear and practical methodology to get good reviews, or to have your team work together with optimal performance and then dramatically grow business opportunities. Some things that we'll take away today, and is so worth the investment of our time, is Adele is going to speak to us about increased demand and increased online exposure, which lends to our public persona. Heightened consumer confidence, that builds consumer demand, and so many, I think Adele's going to go over this, but so many people go to third-party reputation websites first before they ever go to the brand website to make the reservation. It can't be underestimated. Then higher ADR and occupancy, that appeals to one of our most important audiences, not only to us, but to the ownership group, the people that invest in these hotels and provide our jobs for us and places for people to go and visit. And then overall, an overarching theme of team success, a culture of continuous improvement, and keeping ourselves valued, challenged, and continuing to rise up in an upwardly mobile fashion. So with that being said, I'm going to ask Adele, without further delay, to come in and let us welcome you. And then Mitch Woolley will continue to moderate Adele's presentation. But without further ado, welcome Adele. We're so grateful to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. It is just thrilling to be with you. I'm so delighted to say hello to everyone in LA. Are you there, Mitch?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, did you want me to start or did you? I thought you
Yes,
had
yes,
something.
go ahead and start.
Okay.
I just wanted to reiterate what Libby said earlier, is that if you do have questions, Adele would be happy to address those as we go through the presentation. So if you'd kindly just put your questions or comments in the chat box, and I'll raise my hand at some point and we can get Adele to address those questions, okay? Without further ado, Adele, why don't you take it away? Tell us
Thank
about your
you.
new presentation mode too. It's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, Mitch and Libby, for that wonderful introduction. I truly am so passionate about this topic. I had the great fortune to have stumbled upon this incredible system for getting great reviews. That it started at my last company 20 years ago. I joined 21 years ago. I joined the Library Hotel Collection in 2000, the same year that TripAdvisor was born. And in the process of monitoring my online reputation for our hotels, I started to see these review sites. And when one day, one of our hotels popped up to the top, that general manager said to me, Adele, this is priceless. When we're on the first page of TripAdvisor, our reservations go flying. And it was an aha, eureka moment for me. And ever since then, we made it our mission and our focus, our culture, everything was focused on how to make sure everyone left feeling wonderful about their experience, and the impact that it had on our occupancy, average rate, and revenue was magnificent, but it also made an incredible difference in the lives, not only of our guests, but of our staff. So I was very glad that I had the opportunity to share with you all my secrets. So reputation is truly the foundation on which all of our successful sales and marketing and revenue initiatives are built. You know, right now, people think of reputation so low that when they're listing all the things that you need to do in order to have great economic success from your sales and marketing initiatives, it either doesn't come up at all, or it's a footnote on the very bottom of a marketing plan. But I tell you, it should be where you begin. Because if you make a sales call, that person's going to look up the reviews. If you put out an ad and it attracts someone, they're going to look at your reviews. If you put some special promotion on, they're going to say, wow, that sounds really good, but let me check those reviews. So your ROI on every investment of time or money is going to be benefited. And you know what? 95% of travelers read online reviews according to UTrust. And 76% of travelers say that they're willing to pay more for a hotel with higher scores. Well, that should not be a surprise. If you're spending money on airplane tickets or taking the time off work, which we have very limited amount of time off of work in this country, that time is so precious, and that you're spending time on the money on a restaurants, on theater, on all kinds of other things that you might want to do during that time. Don't you want to have that insurance policy of booking a hotel where everyone seems to love the experience that they're having when they're there? And when you see some negative reviews or pretty mixed reviews, some 5 stars, some 3 star, you say, well, you know, maybe I'll just stay with the hotel that I was using before, or let me try something new. And if the rates are the same, 3.9 times more likely are travelers going to book the hotel that has higher review scores. And why not? It's a great investment to make sure that you're getting all you can from that precious time. So the number one thing to begin this trip of reputation cultivation and continuous improvement is to forget everything that you've heard before, that user-generated content is out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, people are jerks, and they write mean things, and everybody wants to write things that are mean, and they complain more than they want to actually express positive things. But that's not true. You have tremendous potential to influence what people say about you when you leave. And you just have to believe it and start doing it and start behaving as though you have influence, and you're going to see the outcome of that. It's going to be amazing. So the first thing people go to when talking about reputation is, well, there are 2 things. One is they are talking about the written response to the review. The responsibility of reputation belongs to the person who's writing the review. But it's actually, the written review is the cherry on top of the whipped cream on top of the dessert. The meat and potatoes of reputation is what you do, how you listen to the insights that a review that is critical gives you, and how you act to change the way you behave so that tomorrow you're going to get better reviews and you won't have that same problem again. And the other thing they go to is, well, you know what, I guess we'll have to buy some technology that will make us instantly have better reviews. But technology is just a tool. And in the hands of people who don't care to fully use that tool to its fullest extent, if they're not on a mission from the bottom of their heart saying, I want to do everything I can to make sure every guest is really happy, you can use those tools to do magic, absolute magic. So by all means, get yourself a reputation management tool that helps consolidate the reviews together. It's a great thing to do. Let it help you send your reports on how your guest satisfaction score is, what your NPS score is. We'll talk a bit about that later. Let the communications tools, there are some great ones like Nudge and Beekeeper. There are training tools like Trainual. All of those tools are great. Your CRM, what you say in your pre-stay email, in your confirmation emails, what you say on your website, what you say on your booking engine, all of those are tools that you can use, but it's not the tool that makes things change. It's you that makes things change, and the other people on your team. So Socrates said, the way to gain good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. Now, being the kind of hotel that inspires great reviews is really what creates your reputation. Imagine, this is action step number one. Imagine the reviews you want to read tomorrow and be the hotel that inspires, be the restaurant that inspires those reviews today, be the spa that inspires those reviews today, be the person that inspires those reviews today. And it, you know what? Me from the executive office, I can't do anything. Less than a fraction of a percent of the delivery of great service is coming from the executive office. The people who are going to be delivering that great service are your team. So yes, I know you're in sales and marketing, you're not in operations, but guess what? It's the same thing. It's one thing. So your first sales call is to your housekeepers, your front office people, your bellmen, and persuade them with impact how great they are, how excellently they've been able to have five-star reviews in the past. And now, instead of five-star reviews being half of your reviews or a third of your reviews, now you want it to become all of your reviews. So we have to together work to diminish our friction points, and you need their help to do that, and elevate and expand on the positives that they're already doing very well some of the time, but now they have to do it all the time. So what do these travelers have in common? Finally, people are back and they're traveling again, and hopefully that will continue right in a super positive direction. You know what? It doesn't matter what price point they're at. It doesn't matter whether they're Gen X or millennials or boomers. No matter whether they're traveling on business, for family, as a couple, or solo, it doesn't matter. Every single one of those people wants to be treated like a VIP. That doesn't necessarily mean I know I'm in LA now, but doesn't mean the red velvet rope. Doesn't mean that. Let's have unpretentious hospitality. Let's make every single guest feel like a VIP. And you know what? If you really want to show somebody you care about them, listen to them. I don't remember who said that. I know that I'm not saying that for the first time, but it is a really great quote. I remember Mary Kay, who had the makeup company, said, pretend that every single person has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. I say CARE, make me feel cared for, appreciated, and respected at every encounter. And that encounter is not just when the person is face-to-face with you in your lobby. It is also when they visit you on your website, when they're on your booking engine, when they're reading your emails, when you're on the chat box. Every single time there's an interaction is a time that I call sparkle a little sunshine on the guests and make them feel so special. And you know what? What do hospitality professionals have in common? You know, I know every single one of you here want to do the right thing. You want to have great reviews, and you want everybody to leave happy. I went to my first HSMA conference, a 2.5-day conference in November of 1980. And I left that and I called my mom. I was just a teenager. And I said, these are the best people in the whole world. I love these people. You could not find anybody at that HSMA conference who did not want to be helpful, did not want to make me feel like a special person, and who did not encourage me to do everything that I could write my own ticket in life. Well, I know that you all want to do the right thing. So they all have something else in common. They also want to be made feel cared for, appreciated, and respected in every encounter. And unless you make the team feel cared for and respected at every encounter, they're not going to have what it takes, the energy within them to do the right thing for your customers. And you have to make sure, by the way, that they have that going into the interview. So you've got to be talking about making people happy. If the idea of making guests happy lights them up during the interview, chances are you're going to have a fantastic person. Um, Employees need a little bit more than that. So on top of cared for, appreciated, and respected, they need to feel mission inspired. They need to feel like they're belonging to the team. They need to feel empowered. You can't have fear holding people back from doing the right thing for the guests. A lot of times the staff knows what they need to do, but they don't feel empowered. They're afraid to get in trouble. So removing fear from the building. By the way, on my podcast, I interviewed a wonderful general manager named Sally Beck. She took her hotel, the Royal Lancaster in London, from number 272 in London out of 1,100 hotels in London, and she made it one of the top 10 hotels in the entire UK on TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice Awards. You can, as a leader, empower your team. And she says the one thing that she does when she, as general manager, is remove fear from the building and let emotionally confident people make decisions that are going to make people happy. So despite the fact that everybody here wants to do the right thing and make people happy, there's only one hotel in LA on TripAdvisor that has 5 bubble score. So that should be good news to all of you. That means that you all have lots of opportunity to do better. No matter where you are right now, even if you think you're doing great, you have more place to go. Bain & Company said that 80% of companies surveyed believe that they delivered a superior experience, but customers said only 8% of companies actually deliver on the brand promise. So let's get that brand promise out of the drawer. When you have a situation where you have a gap between what you think about the hotel and what your guests think about the hotel, well, the sales teams need to be working just so much harder, because instead of getting ahead and building the business, you're just spinning your wheels, replacing the lost business that people didn't come back, not necessarily because they didn't like the hotel, but because they didn't fall in love with the hotel. We need to go just a little bit more than the rest in order to get ahead. You know, Horst Schulze, who was the CEO, I believe, of Ritz-Carlton, he said, you just need to be 10% better than everybody else. You don't need to throw a parade for somebody. You don't need to put out the red carpet for somebody. Well, maybe in LA you do, but in the rest of the world, you don't need the biggest, grandest gesture that Ritz-Carlton was known for. You just need to give a little bit more. But every single business has a gap between what we think about ourselves and what our guests think about us. And you have to listen to those critical voices, because that's a gift that a guest is actually taking the time to tell you what they think. And you should accept that gift graciously and listen to it and try to find the opportunity. They didn't have to say anything to you about what could be better, but they took the time. That means they're engaged with you. And if you do the right thing and listen and say, you know what, I see what you mean, and I'm going to communicate better, or I'm going to find a way to make sure everybody knows what to expect before they arrive at the hotel, so they don't have that awkward moment and they can be prepared. Having a gap is like trying to fill a leaky bucket. I'm sure probably a lot of you have heard this expression before, but it's so inefficient. If we have 80% guest satisfaction, for example, which is frankly just about what most big brands have company-wide, a lot of them are 75 to 82% guest satisfaction. And by the way, that's a little twisted score, and I'll explain that to you in a moment why I say so. But that means that at least 25% of the people aren't coming back because of the experience. They didn't have that wow factor that said, I love this hotel and I can't wait to come back. That's what you really need to have loyalty. So as long as you're having that accepting, you know, your team will give you the kind of work that you are willing to accept. So as long as you say, I'm not willing to accept that anymore. I know that you're a great staff member. I know that you know how to do things right. I know how to, you know how to make people super happy. I need you to give that to everybody. Otherwise, I've got a leaky bucket and we have to spend more money on marketing. We have to have more sales calls. We have to lower our rate in revenue management just to replace, just to have an opportunity to replace business lost, not just because people don't come back, but because people don't refer other people. If every single person leaves happy, you have an army of people always referring people back to you. So I wanted to talk to you about monitoring your customer satisfaction score and your NPS. The customer satisfaction score is what most people use. I think they use that score because it makes them feel better. So what you do is you just take your 5-star reviews, what the percentage is of the total, how many were 5-star reviews, add it to how many the percentage of 4-star reviews, add that together, and hopefully you get a good customer satisfaction score. But does that really tell the full story? I don't think so. You know, what if your hotel had 100% 4 out of 5? 100% of your reviews scored you 4 out of 5. That means that nobody was saying, I love this hotel. This hotel is the best. You've got to go there. Do you think that the people who rated you as fine, that it did the job? It was what I expected. It gave me everything I needed. I'm still looking, of course, for that dream hotel that will always make me happy and make me feel like a VIP. So there's a big difference between those two scores. So instead, watch your NPS score. That's your 5-star reviews, because those are the people who are really your promoters. Skip the 4-star reviews because at a scale of 1 to 10, they say that 7 and 8s are neutral. They're not adding anything, they're not detracting anything. And anything that's 6 or below, or in the case of TripAdvisor and the 5-star kind of ratings, subtract from the percentage of 5-star reviews, subtract the percentage of 3s, 2s, and 1s. And then you'll get your Net Promoter Score. I have done so many of these lately, and I can tell you I've seen as much as negative 55% on the Net Promoter Score. But it'll give you a really true picture that you should monitor every time on your P&L statement. So that's another action step for you. So, oh, the screen is not quite getting it in exactly as I'd like. What I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but what if I could tell you that 5-star review people book or rebook your hotel 6 times more than a 4-star review person? Well, I can't tell you that because that's the hotel business, but I can tell you that it was the case for Xerox. Xerox, according to the Harvard Business Review, said that they did a study of all of their reviewers, and they found that the people who gave them 5 out of 5 were 6 times more likely to rebuy a Xerox product than their number 4. Number 4 is good, it's fine, it's what you get for showing up and not having something disgraceful happen, like a dirty room, for example, or a perfectly rude guest service agent, but or a bill mix-up or something like that. If you just do a good job, fine job, just kind of what it says on the tin, you're going to get a 4. 5s are earned. And that's where it really comes in, that you've got to inspire your team to sparkle sunshine on every single guest, make them feel like a VIP. And when somebody tells you that something's a problem, listen to them, and try to find a way to improve. McKinsey and Company said that they looked at hotels, specific to hotels. They looked at hotels that had high review scores. And what they found is that there were a lot of characteristics that went across all of those hotels. And that they have agile, cross-trained teams where service evolves in response to guest and staff feedback. And those companies were gaining revenue 3 times more profitable than their competition. And they also said, I didn't put it in the slide, but they also said in the McKinsey and Company report that it delivered 1.5, 1.5 times more revenue to the shareholders. So if anybody says that, oh, this touchy-feely thing, it's just woo-woo, and it's, you know, all my bosses care about is money. If you care about money, you should be caring about the lifetime value of your customer and all the people that they can refer to you. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but you know, this is the state of our industry. I'm not making it up when I say that the industry gets, you know, up from the high 80s to, you know, to the low 70s on average. That's what a lot of our brands are doing. But you see the DoubleTree there, and it says that it's 78% guest satisfaction. I'm going to show you an example of someone who overcame that. But let me show you this first. So when I started out, it was all the communications are happening from the sales and marketing department, and the service and the product are coming from operations. And those two not really speaking to each other because we're just focused on our silo. So how do you expect that guests are going to be happy when they're hearing all this lovely things that the sales and marketing department is saying, and then you get to the hotel and it's not a jive? It's not jiving with that. I had the pleasure of working in a hotel where this philosophy was really lived up to. Happiness, this is Mahatma Gandhi said, very wise man, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And that just means that sales and marketing and operations needs to be fully aligned. In the hotel where I was able to have the highest level of guest satisfaction of any luxury brand in the world, according to Review Pro and reading millions of online reviews, it's because sales, marketing, revenue, and guest experience were all in, you know, in one department. Never for a moment did I have to argue for the fact that the guest experience, I had to say it over and over again every day, every single day, that the guest experience is very important, because how am I going to get people to trust us to come and make that booking at the hotel if I have detractors on my on websites around the world saying that we don't provide the wonderful service that we advertise? Not only that, I had, as I said, an army of past guests who were telling their friends and their communities. So because we were able to do that, I hope you can see this well enough. Mitch, can you see that screen well enough? We were able to have the number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Our 4 hotels in New York were all 4 places in a row on top of hundreds of hotels in New York. Hotels that were fancier than ours, bigger than ours, more famous than ours, more opulent than ours in every possible way. And we were just cozy, lovely little home away from homes that were very sweetly decorated, but were teamed with people who are very kind, wanted to do the right thing and were empowered and trained and coached and given freedom to do the right thing for every guest. And that we constantly had that interaction. Now that happened in September of 2010. And in September of 2020, we still had number 1, number 2, and number 3, and then 1 in the teens. So it really kept up without a hiccup. It stayed there like that for more than 15 years, because really even 5 years before, we were 4 in a row, we were all in the top 10 on TripAdvisor. And we had the number 1 hotel in the world of all 1.1 million accommodations in guest reviews. And I had people coming to me who worked at that hotel and said, you know, I used to work at big fancy company that everybody knows is one of the top hotel companies in the world, and said, you know what, we never paid attention to reviews like this. And I said, well, you know what, they have millions of dollars to spend on advertising, but we don't. So as independent hotels, we need our guests to be our loudspeaker and our marketing. And this is what happened. And believe me, it worked fantastically. And we had the number 1 guest satisfaction of any luxury hotel brand in the world. This is a report from Review Pro, who can show you that we went from 93% guest satisfaction to 94 to 95 to 96.1 year after year. It just kept going up because we were committed to a culture of continuous improvement. And you can do it too. There's no rocket science to this. You just have to do it every day. You have to think about it every day. You have to put your guests first every day, and you have to cheerlead your team every day. And you know what? Communication tools where an executive can video a little power talk for 3 minutes to the team and send it out to the team every morning or every week to be used at the morning rallies or pre-shift huddles, however you want to call them. Those are just amazing tools, and also just a way that they can, from their phone, be able to access all the information they need to get things done. So this, I was told you I was going to tell you about the DoubleTree. So you can see that 78% was the average DoubleTree, and yet this general manager, Craig Poole, who was is the president of Reading Hospitality, he took this distressed hotel at the DoubleTree in the second most poverty-stricken cities in the country, with I think he said the second highest crime from any city in the country. And he said, I'm going to turn this hotel around, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to turn the city around. I'm going to be a great influence on everybody who works here and the community around me. And I'm going to give, give, give. And he says he has a podcast called Humanize Profit. I encourage you all to listen to it. It's amazing. He really is the real deal, and it was given the General Manager of the Year award by the American Hotel and Lodging Association. So he said that he did it following the values and the culture of DoubleTree and Hilton. So I ask you, what are all the other general managers doing? He took that. You know, if you're not, it doesn't matter if you're a Hilton person or not, you can Google what the Hilton values are. And if anybody lives in those values, truly lives in those values, and not pretending to live in those values, but really use those values to make their decisions every day, you can be the number 1. He has one of the highest rated hotels in the entire state. Not just the highest rated DoubleTree, but the highest rated hotel, one of the highest in the entire state. So I encourage everybody to get aboard the Reputation Cultivation Train, arriving now, stopping at all stations, which is great revenue, great guest loyalty, great employee loyalty and engagement. You cannot do it without your employees. And one thing that you really need to do, and Simon Sinek actually had a video you'll find on YouTube called Empathy. And he talks about that he saw a really excited person at the Starbucks stand in the lobby of a Four Seasons. And he said, wow, you really seem like you love your job. And he said, I do. It's great. I get to take care of people in the morning. I get a lot of positive energy from them, and I give it to them. And I am so happy to be here. He says, but you know what? It's not my only job. I also work at another hotel. But the difference is that here, the general manager comes and sees me in the morning. Hey, good morning, whoever you are, and says, hey, is there anything you need? Anything you need from me to help you be successful? And because he has that kind of support, and because he feels so valued, he knows that he has the permission to do what he needs to do to make people happy. And he says in the other place, they're just like, there's a lobby, go do your job. And it's just a completely different experience being with him in that culture versus the other. So you can be that person starting this afternoon. You can ask somebody on your team, hey, what do you need to be more successful in your job? What kind of problems are you having that perhaps we can address? Don't assume you know. But if somebody says to you, hey, you know what, we get so many complaints. Every single day we're dealing with people complaining that they've never heard of authorizing a credit card before. That means that you, as the communicating team, sales and marketing, need to change something on your website, something on your booking engine, your pre-stay, your post, your confirmation, whatever it is, to better explain what is happening. That's just for an example. So next step, action step. I told you before that you should write down, or I'm not sure if I told you before, but if I didn't, write down the review, your dream review of what you want people to say about you after leaving your hotel tomorrow. And then be that hotel. Not act, but be that hotel. And ask your team. That's what I did that very first meeting when I told you in 2001 or 2002, I called all the GMs together, the directors of sales and marketing, the front office managers, reservations, and I said, everybody, I want you to write down, what do you want people saying about us? And I kind of compiled that into a master one and said, okay, this is our team goal. This is what we want people to say about this, what we want a honeymoon couple to say about us, what we want a meeting planner to say about it, what a business traveler would say about us, and be that hotel. And if you see something that we're doing that isn't being that hotel, tell me about it, and let's see how we can address it. You have to say, action step 2, you have to tell your team, I believe in you. I believe in you. You know, when I told you about Craig Poole, he hired ex-felons to be in the hotel. And he said, you know what, they came to be ex-felons probably because nobody believed in them when they were younger. But I see the good in them. They have told me how much they care about the city of Reading. And I feel their goodness, and I can see that they want something good for their future. I'm going to believe in them, and I'm going to give them the tools they need to grow. And that's how he did it. So tell your team, I've seen you do great things. I've seen you make people light up with happiness. We just need to do it for everybody. And I can't do it without you. We can't do it without our team. This is not something that you can do once off. You have to do it every day. You have to live in those values every single day. You can't go to a yoga class and call yourself fit at the end of it. You have to make it a daily discipline. So every single day, it doesn't matter how the feedback comes in. The feedback could be from a review. It could be from a chat box. It could be from an email. It could be because your housekeeper or your guest service agent or your server in the restaurant is sharing with you something that caused a friction point. And think about that friction point and how we can relieve it. And you can leave that in the hands of, oh yes, Mitch. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
So sorry. There's a question from Libby. And it's, what is your observation on who owns TripAdvisor in hotels? Example, there's GM, front office, PR, you know, are there any best practices for kind of who owns those reviews? Or
Well,
who
I
should?
can tell you what's happening now because you know, before this meeting, I went and I looked at a lot of LA hotels and their reviews and responses. And I can tell you there's a heck of a lot of cutting and pasting going on. So even if it says it's the general manager, I don't think the general manager is actually sitting there cutting and pasting like this. By the way, that's a soul crushing job to give to a night auditor or a front desk clerk who really cares. I remember one time my husband said to me, he said, the people who don't care are really annoying the people who do care and crushing the souls of the people who do care. And the thing is that if you're the general manager, the director of operations, or whatever it is, the front office manager, director of housekeeping, whatever it is, you know, your job is to care about what the experience is like for the guests. So if I want to have a better relationship with my husband, I'm not going to have somebody else. I'm not going to pay somebody else to hold his hands and take a walk on the beach. I'm going to say, that's my relationship with my husband. And in this case, this is your relationship, your business's relationship with your customer. And cutting and pasting, you know what it is? It's pretending to care. It's not caring. You're not being that hotel. You're acting. So, you know what? Acting is a marvelous tool. And I always said it when I was working for so many decades in New York, that I was a dancer. I was a dance major in high school and in my gap year between high school and college. But so I would hire a performer any day of the week. I think that that's the best hospitality people because you understand that it's a show, but you have to be real too. And in the case of operations, it sounds like when I see that cut and pasted review, and oh, I see people say, there's one hotel where it says, this is not the norm, this is not the norm, this is not the norm, this is not the norm. Well, you know, how many times are you going to cut and paste that? And I can see that it is the norm. So let's not fool ourselves. Let's be real. Let's listen to what they have to say. So who is it belonging to now? Sadly, completely inappropriately, the social media intern, the PR agency, I'll pay somebody else to write responses for me. I told you that writing responses is the cherry on top of the whipped cream, on top of the dessert. But the meat and potatoes is every day. Your, you know, your owner, your general manager, and you, directors of sales and marketing, and or aspiring directors of sales and marketing. If you're in revenue, you care about revenue, you better make it your business to listen to this and see what those feedbacks are so that you can find ways to change things. And then once you've listened, you've done some research to find out what the root cause of the problem is, because the problem isn't just that the food was cold, it's how it got cold. And you have to find out what happened behind the scenes in order to understand that. So you have to, in the situation at Library Hotel Collection, the general manager would know I'd be asking, so I usually didn't even have to ask. They'd write to me and say, Adele, I've inspected the room. I went to talked to the restaurant manager. I've talked to the front desk clerk who checked him out, and you know, to see if they could give me any feedback. And this is what we were able to find out. And this is what we think may be a good step, a solution. And either then I would say, that's a great plan, or I'm concerned about that plan. What about this? What about this? Can't we do that? A lot of times because they're in the hotel and their feelings are hurt because somebody called their baby ugly. So their feelings are hurt, so they're a little defensive. And it takes sometimes somebody from the outside to put them on the right track. Wait, I know she's completely unreasonable, but is there just a kernel of truth to it? And what if another unreasonable person comes in again tomorrow? How am I going to deal with that? You know, it can't be true that that half the people that come to hotels say that they've never heard of a credit card authorization before, or that they've traveled all around the world and they've never heard of this before. It's not true. But there is a kernel of truth that we're not doing as good a job sharing that information in advance to make sure that the guest is perfectly prepared and comfortable and ready to have a great experience when they get to the hotel. So it should belong to the director of sales and marketing or revenue or all, because we care about the revenue. Nobody's going to care about the revenue as much as we do. Nobody's going to care about that marketing ad conversion. Nobody's going to care about that sales person that gets the contract signed. Nobody's going to care about that more than you. So you have to be a leader and push and work together with operations like this. It's not going to happen without you unless you have a very sales-oriented general manager. And some of us are likely to have that and some of us don't. So we have to work together. And remember that some of the solutions are really on marketing side because we're the communicators. And when we set up false expectations, or somehow what we're saying doesn't actually match the experience, we're creating the problem sometimes. Well, any other questions?
So far,
Okay.
so good. I put a resource in the chat box because you had mentioned Review Pro, and a couple people had questions about that. So I put some general information about Review Pro.
Yeah.
We've got some really good, several products that actually help you with the guest satisfaction and review
Yes.
to improve those
Revenate
scores.
is wonderful.
And I put a contact over there that you can get a free demo with and stuff. So.
Revenate is also wonderful. Trust You is also wonderful. And, you know, TripAdvisor has a tool. I haven't tried it, but you know, I think they're willing to give you a free month, so you could try that too. But follow the data. You know, you got to eat your vegetables. You've got to listen. Remember that people are complaining, oh, I need more data. I need to buy more data. Well, you know what? Guest reviews are data, and you're not using it. Listen with a humble heart, because you have to bring some humility. That person, don't say, oh, well, there'll be another guest tomorrow. No, keep your guests, and try to keep more of them, because otherwise you're dealing with a leaky bucket. Have some humility. They've made the choice to stay with you. If you are getting some criticism, really take it with a humble heart and listen with a desire to help. And remember, you know, you've got to get those pebbles out of people's shoes. If you want to keep your guests, those friction points, you have to find them, and sometimes you can't eliminate them, but you can reduce them, and so much so that it won't make a difference anymore. And you'll, through tiny little 1% innovations, little micro innovations, every time you make a little change, that's being a leader. And that little change will accumulate with all the little changes moving in the right direction, and you'll find yourself on top because other hotels aren't doing this. Look for what was the real cause of the problem when you're listening to the complaint. Was it a mindset issue on the staff? Are they defending the hotel? They shouldn't be defending the hotel. They should be the guest's ambassador to happiness and their happiness maker, and find a way to make a yes out of whatever request that it is. Communications. Half the time it's a communications issue. Sometimes it's a process issue. Do we need to change the process? That process was put into place years ago. It's not relevant anymore. We can change the process. You know, people put those processes into place, and we can change those just as well. And sometimes you have to change the product just a little bit to keep up with the times or stay ahead of them. Remember, when you're looking at a complaint on a review, Don't blame the staff ever. You hired them. You have to inspire them. You have to train them. You have to give them the tools that they need to be successful. You have to empower them with the freedom of fear. It's never their fault. It's always up to the leadership. Use reviews to cultivate your team instead. Inspire their performance. Tell them how great they are. Appreciate them. They'll do more and more. The more they're appreciated, every time you have a great review, talk about it in the pre-shift huddle. Always have a pre-shift huddle, by the way. That's so important. And it should be a place where you teach people, and the way you keep the great vision and goals of the company on the front of everyone's mind. Embrace that feedback, even a mistake. Embrace it, celebrate it, because it taught you something that you're going to now do things differently. Have your whole team be mini GMs and mini directors of sales and marketing, looking for possible opportunities where we can make a micro innovation that will make a difference in the lives of our guests. And you know how good that makes it as team member feel when you ask them, what might we do to provide a better experience for their guests? I want to hear from you every day, telling me what we should do. You're the eyes and ears of the company. Build trust. Don't cut and paste review responses. You need to write custom. Your customer is telling you something. You need to write something customized for them, saying, you know what? I see what you mean about that. And because of that, not only did we go up to that room after you told us the problem, we went up to the room and we saw what you said. And not only are we checking that, we're changing our process, and we're going to inspect all the other rooms to see if they have the same problem. Thanks for making sure that giving us an opportunity to make things better for all our future guests. You know what? You think that people are calling you and complaining because they want a freebie? They want to be heard. A few people want a freebie. And why not give them a little something just to make them sure that they feel appreciated? But what they really want is to be heard. And empower your team. There is nothing more soul crushing for your team and more irritating for your guest as to wait for somebody to approve something to happen. Empower your team to make decisions. And if they make the wrong decision, but for the right reasons, say, I know you were trying to do the right thing. Let's just talk about it and see what else could we have do maybe for next time. Let's try that. It's all good.
Adele, this is Libby speaking, and I want to thank you for all this content today. It's amazing. I made so many notes today. I'm going to action several things that I know are going to benefit. I also want to let you know that I put in the chat box for our entire audience today to make sure they subscribe to your newsletter, and then to take a moment to connect with you through LinkedIn. And that's a way of furthering today's conversation and making it lifelong.
Sounds good. And watch my podcast.
Of course. I'm sorry. That was a misstep on my part. Yes.
No, not at all. Not at all. If they
we'll be lifelong subscribers, but I want to thank you today for being centerpiece to our conversation. And hopefully our paths will all cross again soon.